I was just about to sit down with my takeout when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Aunt Linda. I figured it was another one of her forwarded memes or some chain message about good luck, but when I opened it, it was a video. No caption, just a video. Curious, I tapped play. The screen was shaky like someone had accidentally hit record, but the audio was clear. Too clear. Alex should be grateful. My mom's voice said, "He'd be nothing without us." I froze. Then came my dad's chuckle. "A pathetic failure, that's what he is, but at least he's good for something paying our bills." Laughter followed. I gripped my phone tighter, my heart pounding. If Alex ever stopped sending money, Aunt Linda chimed in, we'd just guilt him into it. He's too soft to say no. My stomach turned. They were talking about me, not some hypothetical person, me. I had been helping them for years, paying their rent, covering their debts, sacrificing my own savings to make sure they never struggled. And this is what they really thought of me. I was still staring at the screen when the video disappeared. This message has been unsent. Aunt Linda must have realized her mistake and panicked. I should have confronted her, called her out, let them know I knew everything. But instead, I put my phone down and pretended like I never saw it. That's when I decided I wasn't going to react. Not yet. I had a plan. I sat there for what felt like hours, the words echoing in my head. Alex should be grateful. A pathetic failure. He's too soft to say no. They weren't wrong about one thing. I was too soft to say no. How many times had they guilted me into helping them? How many times had I put my own life on hold to make sure they had everything they needed? My dad's temporary financial struggles turned into me covering rent for years. My sister's tuition, she never even finished college. My mom's endless emergencies, always conveniently timed when I had just gotten paid. And I had done it all without hesitation, because that's what family was supposed to do, right? I had spent years convincing myself that I was doing the right thing, that they appreciated me, that they loved me. But that video shattered every illusion I had left. Now they thought they had gotten away with it. Aunt Linda had unsent the message, probably breathing a sigh of relief, thinking I hadn't seen it. Maybe she even reassured everyone. Don't worry, Alex didn't watch it. They thought I was still in the dark, and that was my advantage. I could have texted her right then and there, could have confronted her, told her I saw everything. But what would that do? They'd just deny it, make excuses, twist the situation to make me feel guilty somehow. If they thought I was still their naive, obedient little bank account, I'd let them believe it. For now. Because in just a few days, the next payment was due. And this time, things were going to be different. The next morning, I got up like any other day, but something had definitely shifted. I didn't brew my coffee on autopilot. I didn't scroll Instagram aimlessly. I just sat at the kitchen counter, watching the steam rise from my mug and thinking about all of it. I knew the monthly rent transfer was due Friday. It was Wednesday. I had 2 days to play it like usual or not. At 9:03 a.m., my phone buzzed. Mom, morning, sweetie. Just checking in, hope you're having a good week. Oh, come on. She never texted me just to check in, not without a follow-up. Right on cue, another message came in. Oh, BDW rent's due this Friday. Can you send it early? This time, Dad's account is a bit low. Thanks, love you. There it was, the same cycle. But this time I wasn't biting. I stared at the screen. My thumbs hovered over the keys. Normally I'd reply instantly. Of course, no problem. I might even apologize like I was inconveniencing them by taking care of their lives. But not this time. I deleted what I wrote, rewrote. Then I sent, can't this month. Simple, direct, no fluff. And then I waited. It took 3 minutes. Mom, what do you mean you can't? Another minute. You know we're counting on you. You can't just bail like this, Alex. And then the icing on the manipulation cake. Your sister's still trying to find a job? We really need your help. I rolled my eyes so hard it hurt. My sister had been trying to find a job for 2 years. Somehow she always needed a few more months of space and support. Guess who funded that luxury? Buzz, new message. Aunt Linda this time. Hey, sweetie, is everything okay? Your mom says you're going through something. I almost laughed. Going through something. Yeah, like realizing I'd been taken for a ride by my own family. I replied, I've got some unexpected expenses. Can't send anything this month. No emotion, no guilt, just facts. What came next wasn't silence, it was noise. Desperate, anxious noise. Mom, Alex, this isn't like you. Are you okay? Please don't let your pride get in the way of your family. We need you right now. Dad, who barely ever texted unless it was about tools or fixing the car, chimed in. Dad, I don't know what's gotten into you, but this is selfish. Your family relies on you. Grow up. Screw that. I had grown up. That was the whole damn problem. I grew up too fast because they made me. I started working at 17 to help with bills. Took night shifts during college to pay for utilities. I missed vacations, skipped birthdays, delayed my life, just to keep theirs floating. And for what? So they could sit around and laugh at me behind my back. So they could use words like failure while cashing the checks I sent. Buzz. Aunt Linda again, this time with a voice note. I hesitated. Last time she accidentally sent me something, it wrecked me. This time I hit play. Her voice came through low and sharp. Alex, look, I don't know what kind of power play this is, but it's childish. Your mom is a wreck. Your dad's blood pressure is up. You need to stop this nonsense and send the money. You've always done it. Why stop now? You make more than all of us. You don't even need that money. And if you think this stunt is going to make them appreciate you, you're wrong. You're being selfish. And when you realize you need your family again, don't expect them to welcome you back. I just sat there, not angry, not hurt, calm, because that right there was the truth. Not love, not care, not concern. Control? They didn't love me. They loved the help. They loved the stability I gave them. The way I cleaned up their messes, covered for their mistakes, gave without question. The minute I stopped, I was suddenly selfish, a disappointment. So I did what I should have done years ago. I blocked my mom, then Dad, then Aunt Linda, and it was quiet. Quiet in a way I hadn't experienced in years. No buzzing, no passive-aggressive, just checking in texts, no money requests disguised as family updates. It felt good. Until the next morning. A knock on the door at 7:15 a.m. I groaned, dragging myself out of bed. Another knock, louder. I cracked open the door, still half asleep. And there he was, my little sister, Madison, in sweatpants, hoodie, holding a duffel bag and looking like she'd been crying. Can I stay here for a few days? She asked, eyes puffy. What happened? I asked, stepping aside instinctively. They're freaking out. I think I broke something in the kitchen by accident and Dad started screaming at me. Mom said it was my fault, you're acting out. I needed space. I blinked. Wait, so they think this is my fault? She nodded, then looked down. I also saw the video. My heart stopped. What? I heard them. I was upstairs. I came down for water and heard Mom saying you were a convenient little cash cow. I didn't want to believe it, but then they started talking about how you'd never cut them off because you're too soft. I stared at her. Madison had always been the baby, coddled, protected, but she wasn't stupid. I get it now, she whispered. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything, just handed her a blanket and let her crash on my couch. By lunch, she was snoring softly, exhausted from whatever storm she escaped from. And I sat in the kitchen thinking, if even Madison was waking up to their bullshit, maybe this wasn't just my revenge story anymore. Maybe it was the beginning of something bigger. But I knew they weren't going to let it go that easy. These people didn't just manipulate. They controlled. They guilted. They cornered you emotionally until you cracked. And I had a feeling they were gearing up for round 2. They always did. And this time I was ready. The storm really hit 2 days later. Friday morning, rent day. I was finishing breakfast, well, if you count a microwaved breakfast burrito and gas station coffee as breakfast, when my phone started going off again. But this time it wasn't texts. It was calls, one after the other. Blocked number, then Mom's cell, then Dad, then blocked again. I let them all go to voicemail. I didn't even bother listening. I just stared at my phone like it was some kind of bomb waiting to go off. Madison wandered out of the guest room, rubbing her eyes, hair in a bun. They're calling me too, she mumbled, like nonstop. Dad left a voicemail saying I need to come back and talk some sense into you. I laughed. Classic. She sat down across from me, wrapped in my old hoodie. They think I'm gonna fix it, that if I just cry a little you'll fold. I used to, I muttered. Every single time. We sat there in silence for a minute. Then she said, you're doing the right thing. I nodded, not trusting myself to say anything. Not yet. At noon my phone buzzed again, but it wasn't them. It was work. HR. Hey Alex, can you swing by our office at 2 p.m.? Something's come up. Not bad, just something you should see. I was like, okay, weird, but fine. I needed the distraction anyway. So I headed over. Now here's where the plot twist kicked in. Big time. I walk into the HR office expecting paperwork or some annoying compliance update. Instead, my manager Melissa is there holding a file. She looks uncomfortable. Alex, we got a concerning message forwarded to us anonymously. It claims you've been misusing company funds and harassing a family member. I blinked. Wait, what? She slid a printed email across the table. It was an anonymous report, sent from a throwaway email address. Alex has been using their position at work to embezzle money. They've stolen from their own family. They're emotionally abusive. You should look into it. It read like a soap opera plot written by a toddler. Melissa gave me a look like she didn't believe it, but HR still had to go through the motions. We're not accusing you of anything, but policy requires us to ask if there's any basis for these claims. I felt like I'd swallowed glass. This is completely false. Someone's trying to sabotage me. I wasn't dumb. I knew exactly who it was. Who would go this far? My mom. Or maybe Aunt Linda. Possibly both. Melissa nodded. That's what I figured. But if anything else comes up, let us know. I left the office shaking. That was their move. Try to ruin my job. Try to get me fired. They really were willing to burn it all down just to force me back into their control. I got back to my apartment and told Madison everything. Her face went red. They're unhinged, like actually deranged. She started pacing the living room furious. I want to post the video. The one where they call you pathetic and say you're only good for paying bills. Let the whole world see who they really are. I was tempted. God, I was tempted. But I had something better in mind. Let's not post it, I said. Let's send it. Directly. To someone else in the family. Her eyes lit up. Like, Grandma. Bingo. My mom's mom, Grandma May, was old school. Southern, proud, and very, very no-nonsense. If she found out her daughter was calling me a pathetic failure while living off my money, oh, it'd be nuclear. So we did it. Madison wrote a polite email. Hi, Grandma, I think you should see this. I didn't know how bad things had gotten until I stayed with Alex. We attached the clip, and we waited. 1 hour, 2 hours, nothing. Then at 7:42 p.m. Madison's phone rang. Grandma. She put it on speaker. Madison, sweetheart, I just watched that video. Yeah, Grandma, I didn't know how to explain it. I just thought you should hear it. There was a pause. I'm ashamed, Grandma May said. Truly ashamed. That's not how I raised your mother. Then she asked for my number. The call ended and 5 minutes later my phone rang. Alex. Her voice was firm but gentle, like a warm blanket over gravel. Yes, Grandma, I just saw what they said, and I want you to know I had no idea. If I did, I would have stepped in sooner. You don't deserve that. Nobody does. I didn't know what to say. My throat tightened. I want you to come visit, you and Madison both. For a few days, clear your head, get some rest. I choked out, thank you. And just like that, we had an escape plan. 2 days later, we were on the road. We stayed at Grandma's for a full week. She cooked, she fussed over us. She kept trying to feed us like we hadn't eaten in months. It was the most peaceful I'd felt in years. And guess who didn't call the entire time? Nobody. Because the second Grandma found out, she ripped into my parents like a tornado. She called my mom and said, and I quote, "You're lucky I'm too old to drive up there and slap you." She also told Aunt Linda to stay out of it unless she wanted to be disowned. I almost cried from the joy of it. On our last night there, Madison and I sat on the porch drinking sweet tea, watching the sunset. You ever think it'd come to this, she asked. I shook my head. I thought I'd be paying their rent until I was 50. She laughed, but it faded quick. I feel kinda guilty, for not realizing sooner, for letting you handle it all. I looked at her. You were just a kid. And hey, you're here now. That's more than anyone else can say. She smiled. We went home the next day back to my apartment. But something had changed. I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't even mad. I was focused. Because I knew what came next. It was time to sever everything. Not just the money. The legal ties. I had been paying for their car. It was in my name. I'd co-signed my dad's personal loan. Hell, even their phone plan ran through mine. So I started the process. Canceled the car insurance, notified the bank I was removing myself as co-signer, transferred the phone plan and sent a final message. This number will be disconnected from my account in 3 days. You'll need to get your own service. It was ruthless, cold, but fair. If they wanted independence so badly, they could finally have it. What happened next? Well, that was going to be their problem. 3 days later, the meltdown began. Right on cue. It started with a text from my mom. From a brand new number. Mom, new number. Alex, what the hell? Our phones just got shut off. Your dad missed an important call. This is ridiculous. We need to talk. I stared at it and laughed. Out loud. Because of course she got a new number. Of course she didn't ask, she demanded. Because in her world, my boundaries were optional. Then came a message from Dad. This one was even more dramatic. Dad, you better fix this. Cutting off our phone lines. After everything we've done, this is cruel. You're making a huge mistake. I didn't reply. I wasn't going to play their game. Madison walked in with grocery bags and glanced at my phone. Let me guess, she said, setting stuff down. The pity parade has arrived. Right on schedule, I said, waving my phone in the air like a white flag. Phones are cut, cars uninsured, and the loan company's calling about the cosign I backed out of. Guess they're finally feeling the burn. Good, she said, cracking open a soda. They need to. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a tiny pang of guilt. But it wasn't because I thought I'd done something wrong. It was more like the muscle memory of a lifetime of emotional conditioning. That little voice in my head still whispered, what if they're really struggling? What if you're being too harsh? Then I remembered that video. I remembered the laughter, the mockery. My name dragged through the dirt by the people I sacrificed everything for. Nah, screw that voice. They made their bed. I was just flipping the mattress. A few hours later, Madison's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and froze. Oh my God, she whispered. They posted about you on Facebook. I leaned over her shoulder and read it. My mom had written a long-winded sob story about a selfish daughter who cut off her entire family over money and how after raising her alone as a single mother, she never expected to be repaid with silence and abandonment. There were comments, lots of them. Her friends who only knew the surface-level version of our lives were piling on. That's so awful, Barbara. Kids today have no loyalty. My heart breaks for you. You gave her everything. You're such a good mom. She doesn't deserve you. I rolled my eyes so hard I saw last week. Then my dad chimed in with a comment of his own. Some people only care about what's in their bank account. Family used to mean something. And then Aunt Linda. Oh, she went full Shakespearean tragedy. Ever since she moved out, Alex thinks they're better than us. But money doesn't buy love. I've seen the change in them. It's sad. Is that so? I muttered, scrolling. Then maybe I should post the truth. Madison put her hand on mine. Don't, not yet. I blinked. Why not? Because they want you to react. They want you to look unstable. If you post now, it'll be seen as drama. Let them spiral. Let them bury themselves. I hated that she was right. So instead, I logged off, put my phone down, went for a walk, and let the fire keep spreading on its own. Later that night, I got a DM from someone unexpected. My cousin Taylor. She was Aunt Linda's daughter. We weren't close growing up, but we'd followed each other on social media for years. Never really talked, but we kept up. Her message was short. Hey, I saw the Facebook stuff. I just wanted to say, I believe you. That hit harder than I expected. We started chatting. She asked me what really happened. I told her about the years of money, the manipulation, the voicemail, the video. She didn't even question it. That tracks, she replied. They've always had their favorites. I just didn't realize how deep it ran. Then she said something that changed everything. You're not the only one they've treated like that. I've got stories too. And just like that, the cracks started spreading wider. The next morning, I woke up to a message from my Uncle Rob, my mom's brother. Alex, I don't know what happened exactly, but I want you to know you don't owe anyone your peace. Do what's right for you. And if you ever need help, I'm here. One by one, people started reaching out. Cousins, old neighbors, even my high school librarian. Apparently, the Facebook sob story had drawn more attention than my mom intended. And once people started asking questions, the truth started leaking out. Taylor shared the video privately to a few trusted people, and those people shared it again. By Monday morning, my parents were silent. Their posts deleted. Their defenders confused. A new post appeared on my mom's Facebook. Short, defensive. I've decided to take a break from social media. People believe what they want to believe. Translation: I got caught. Madison and I high-fived. One down, she said. What's next? I asked. She grinned. You tell me. You're in control now. So I did something bold. I booked a therapy session. Not because I was falling apart, but because I was done pretending this stuff hadn't affected me. I was done carrying all the guilt, the pressure, the need to keep the peace at my own expense. And therapy. It was like emotional detox. I spilled everything. The financial drain, the mental games, the video, the walkout. The years I'd wasted trying to win love that was never offered freely. And the therapist just nodded, calm and steady. "You did what you had to do," she said. "That's not selfish, that's survival." I left that room lighter than I'd felt in years. Later that night, Madison cooked dinner. Actual dinner. Like with seasoning and everything. We sat on the couch eating spaghetti, watching bad reality TV. And for once, I didn't feel like a disaster. I felt like a person again. Madison raised her glass of wine. To freedom. I clinked mine against hers. To never being guilt-tripped by people who don't pay their own damn phone bill. She laughed so hard she snorted. And I realized this right here was what family should feel like. Messy, loud, but safe. So yeah, maybe I'd lost the people who raised me. But maybe I'd also saved myself. And honestly, that felt like the real win. I wasn't expecting what came next. Not even close. The silence from my parents lasted a few days, which should have been a relief, but instead it felt like the calm before a storm. Like they were regrouping, reloading their favorite weapon, guilt. Or maybe they were just figuring out their next move. I was right. Thursday night, just past 10 p.m., my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Madison was at work, and I sure as hell didn't order pizza. I peeked through the peephole and immediately got that WTF jolt in my stomach. It was my dad. Standing there like some tired ghost, hands in his pockets, looking up at the door like he wasn't sure what universe he'd stepped into. For a second, I thought about not answering, just letting him stand there and stew. But then I figured, screw it. Let's see what he's got to say in person. I opened the door just a crack. "Alex," he said, like we hadn't gone full nuclear 2 weeks ago. I didn't say anything. He cleared his throat. "Can I come in?" I leaned against the door frame. "Why?" That stopped him. I watched his expression tighten. I want to talk. About what I asked, deadpan. About how I ruined the family. About how I'm the selfish one. "No," he muttered, looking down at his shoes. "Not exactly." That "not exactly" set off every red flag, but curiosity got the better of me. I stepped aside. 10 minutes, then you leave. He walked in slowly, like my living room was a courtroom and he wasn't sure if he was a witness or the accused. I didn't offer him a drink. Didn't tell him to sit. I just stood there, arms crossed. He looked around like he was seeing it all for the first time. "Nice place," he said, half-hearted. Don't I cut him off? "Don't small talk me. Say whatever you came to say." He sighed. Sat down anyway. "Okay, I messed up." I blinked. "Come again?" He looked up at me, and for the first time I saw something I hadn't seen in years. Something real. Regret. "I let things get out of hand," he said. "We leaned on you too much. Took you for granted." My brain was short-circuiting. This was not the script I expected. "You took me for granted," I repeated, trying not to yell. That's the understatement of the freaking century. He nodded slowly. I know. You're angry. You should be. We got used to you always being there. We forgot to be parents and just became leeches." "Wow," I said, sitting down across from him. "That's some self-awareness. Did you hit your head?" He cracked a tired smile. "No. Your cousin Taylor sent me the video." "Ah. So that was it." He saw the footage. The one where they laughed behind my back. Where Mom said I was a failure and Aunt Linda talked about guilt-tripping me. "I didn't know she recorded it," he said, "and I didn't know she sent it to you." "You were in the damn video," I snapped. "You laughed. You called me a failure." "I was angry," he said quietly. "We were talking about how you didn't want to pay for Jason's school anymore, and I said things I shouldn't have. And then you hit me with the full guilt train after you knew I'd seen it," I reminded him. "You called me selfish, ungrateful, spoiled." He ran a hand down his face. I was in denial. "That's putting it nicely." Silence settled between us. Finally, he said, "Your mom's not doing great." I rolled my eyes. "Here it comes." "No, I'm serious. She's not sleeping. She's crying every day." "She cried the night she filmed herself mocking me too," I asked. "Was that before or after she hit delete on the video?" He flinched. "She knows she messed up. We both do. And I'm not asking you to fix anything. I just wanted to say, I get it now." I stared at him, waiting for the catch. "You get what?" "That we failed you," he said quietly. "You were never the problem. We were. We were supposed to support you, not bleed you dry. I don't expect forgiveness. But I wanted to say it in person. It felt surreal. Like I was in a weird dream where my dad grew a conscience overnight. But I also didn't trust it. Not fully." "Why now?" I asked. "Why not 2 years ago? Why not when I told you I couldn't keep helping Jason forever? Why not after the first guilt trip? He looked down. Because we thought you'd never walk away. Boom. There it was. The honesty, raw, unfiltered. They never expected me to leave. Never expected me to cut them off. They thought I'd just keep taking it. Forever. And when I didn't, they broke. Do you want back in? I asked, voice low. He looked up startled. What? You here trying to patch things up so I'll turn the faucet back on? No, he said. I'm here because I miss my daughter. Because I realized I don't even know who you are anymore. And that's on me. I didn't have a response. He stood. I won't take more of your time. Just think about it. He handed me a letter. Actual paper. Folded. From your mom, he said. No pressure to read it. Then he walked out. Just like that. The door clicked shut behind him. And I stood there holding the letter like it was ticking. I didn't read it right away. I poured a drink, sat in silence, let the moment breathe. Then finally I opened it. It wasn't long, just a single page, handwritten. Alex, I'm sorry. I've been sorry for a long time, but I didn't know how to say it. I thought if I kept you close with responsibility, I wouldn't lose you. I thought if we needed you, you'd never leave. But needing someone isn't love. And I don't blame you for walking away. I just wish it didn't take losing you to see the truth. I love you, I always have, I just didn't show it right. Mom, I stared at it for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. I just felt numb. Because yeah, it was an apology. But it didn't erase the years of being used. It didn't erase the loneliness, the manipulation, the pressure. It didn't erase the damage. Madison came home an hour later. I handed her the letter. She read it, then looked at me. So, I shrugged. So nothing. I'm not calling them, I'm not going back, but I needed to hear it. She nodded. You good? Getting there. We watched a movie that night. Something dumb with explosions and terrible acting. Madison fell asleep halfway through, snoring softly on my shoulder. And for once I didn't check my phone. I didn't feel responsible for anyone else's life. I just sat there, breathing, being. The thing about healing is it's not cinematic. There's no swelling music or dramatic slow-motion moment where you suddenly become whole again. It's messy. It's slow. Sometimes it's just you in your pajamas, grocery shopping for one, and realizing you're okay. A month passed. No calls, no texts. And for once the quiet didn't feel threatening. It felt earned. I didn't unblock anyone. Didn't respond to that letter my mom wrote. I kept it though folded up in the back of my notebook. Not out of sentimentality. More like documentation, proof, evidence that I wasn't crazy, that they knew exactly what they did. One morning I was walking out of the gym when I saw someone I hadn't expected to see again, Jason. He was leaning against a car hoodie, up head down, looking like someone halfway between a sulking teenager and a hungover frat bro. I almost kept walking, but then he saw me. Alex, he called out, jogging to catch up. I didn't stop. Wait, can we talk? I sighed, kept walking. Pretty sure we already had that talk, Jay. He trotted beside me. Yeah, but like, I wasn't ready before. I gave him a look. To say what more excuses? No, he said, surprising me. To say I was wrong. That made me stop. He looked exhausted. Like life had finally started tapping on his door the way it had been kicking mine in for years. I thought you were overreacting, he admitted. When you cut everyone off, I thought you were just being dramatic. But now, he looked down. Now mom's working double shifts, dad's thinking about selling the house, and me, I'm actually working at a car wash. My eyebrows went up. A job? Yeah, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. Turns out bills don't pay themselves. Who knew? I didn't laugh. Not because it wasn't kind of funny, but because I wanted him to sit with that reality a little longer. I was spoiled, he said. You always bailed me out. I never thought about what it cost you. And now I asked. He shrugged. Now I think about it every time my back hurts from cleaning tires. We stood there awkwardly, a weird truce hanging between us. I'm not asking you to forgive me, Jason said, eyes honest for once. I just wanted you to know. I get it now. I really do. I nodded. Good. He looked relieved, like those two words lifted a weight he'd been carrying for the first time in his life. Don't screw it up, I added, then walked away. That could have been the end. Honestly, I was ready for it to be, but life had one more twist lined up. A week later, I got an email from my mom. Subject line, no expectations. I stared at it for 10 minutes before opening it. Alex, I'm not reaching out to ask for anything. Not money, not forgiveness, just time. Your father and I have started counseling. It's awkward and painful and long overdue. We're not doing it to win you back. We're doing it because we finally realized we broke something not just between us and you, but in ourselves. I don't expect a reply, but I wanted you to know. Love, Mom. It was the first thing she'd sent me in years that didn't have a guilt trap attached. I didn't respond, but I didn't delete it either. 2 months passed. I got promoted at work, started sleeping better, even adopted a dog from the shelter, this goofy mutt with lopsided ears I named Moose. Madison and I had our ups and downs, but we were solid, real. Then one day, Madison looked at me over coffee and said, "So, you ever gonna talk to them again?" I shrugged. "I don't know." "You don't have to," she said, "but you can if you want to. Doesn't have to be all or nothing." And I realized she was right. I had been so busy guarding my boundaries, I forgot it was okay to move the fence if I decided to, not because someone pushed me. So that weekend, I drove back to the house I grew up in. I didn't tell them I was coming. Didn't plan anything dramatic. I just parked across the street, leaned against my car, and looked at it. The siding was peeling. The lawn wasn't mowed. It looked tired, like my family. I didn't knock on the door. Didn't need to. Just stood there long enough to remind myself I wasn't afraid of this place anymore. That it didn't own me. That I could leave it behind or walk through it again and both choices would be mine. That was the real revenge. Not screaming matches, not final text messages, not shutting doors so hard they rattled. The real revenge was peace. It was becoming the version of myself they said I never could be on my own terms without asking for their applause. It was walking away and not looking back because I didn't need to win anymore. I didn't need to prove anything. They had already lost me when they decided I was only worth what I could give them. And me, I was done giving, but I wasn't done living. I drove away from that house with the windows down, the radio up, and Moose panting happily in the passenger seat. Not a perfect ending, but it was mine. And that was enough. Story 2. My name is Marcus. And I never thought I'd say this, but getting scammed by my own sister-in-law was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Not because it felt good, not because I came out on top, but because it opened my eyes. Let me start at the beginning, before the lies, before the screenshots, before the silence shattered everything. It was a Sunday morning when Camille showed up at our door, tear-streaked, pale, and clutching a thick manila envelope. Camille is my wife, Jenna's younger sister. She's 27, a freelance photographer, or at least that's what she puts on social media. Her real talent is drama, and not the theater kind. The real-life, emotionally explosive, no-boundaries kind. She sat on our couch with the envelope in her lap, refusing coffee, wiping her face with the sleeve of her oversized hoodie. "I didn't know who else to go to," she whispered. "Please don't be mad." That's when Jenna leaned forward and gently asked Camille what's going on. Camille handed her the envelope. Inside were papers, dozens of them, scanned reports, lab results, insurance letters. Camille had been diagnosed, she said, with a rare autoimmune disease, something aggressive, something expensive, something not fully covered by her basic health insurance. "It's progressing fast," she said, voice trembling, "and I'm scared." Jenna started crying. I sat there frozen. I don't know much about medicine, but the paperwork looked legitimate. Camille said she'd already sold her camera gear, maxed out her credit cards. She didn't want to ask, but she had no choice. "I'm out of options," she said, voice shaking. "I hate begging, but I don't want to die." We wired her $6,000 the next day. I didn't even argue. How could I? She was family. She needed help. And even if we couldn't cover everything, that amount would supposedly take care of the first round of treatment. Jenna hugged her for a long time before she left. Camille promised to keep us updated. I remember Jenna telling me that night, "At least we did the right thing. That's what matters." I believed that. For a while. Weeks passed. Camille rarely answered texts. When she did, she said she was too exhausted to talk, or waiting on new test results. We gave her space. Sick people don't owe us updates, right? But something gnawed at me. Quietly at first, then louder. The way she acted. The vague details. The fact that none of the documents had a direct physician's note. Just scans, printouts, generic stuff anyone could Google. I didn't say anything. I wanted to believe she was telling the truth. And then one Friday night, Jenna handed me her phone. She wasn't crying this time. Just stunned. "Look at Camille's story," she said, her voice flat. It was an Instagram video. A massive haul. Fairy lights strung from the ceiling. A three-tier cake glistening under chandeliers. Loud music, laughter, sparkling wine glasses clinking together. Camille's voice on the video, "Tonight's gonna be unforgettable." I blinked. Next clip, Camille in a full sequined gown twirling on the dance floor, champagne in one hand, throwing her head back in laughter. My jaw clenched. Another clip, a professional photographer, not Camille, snapping shots of guests walking in under a custom arch that read, "Live loud, love wild, Camille's night." I couldn't speak. I looked at Jenna. She was staring at the screen, lips pressed tightly. She told us she was too sick to text. Jenna finally whispered, "Now I'm not a petty person. I've never cared about how people spend their money. But this wasn't just wasteful. This was betrayal. $6,000. That's what we gave her, thinking it was for chemo, not caviar." Jenna didn't want to jump to conclusions. I get that. It's her sister. She wanted to believe there was some explanation. Maybe a friend surprised her. Maybe she won a contest. But I knew better. The next morning I started digging. Camille had tagged the venue. It was a luxury loft space downtown, rates starting at $4,500 per night, not including the decor, or the food, or the DJ. I called pretending to inquire about a future booking. The lady on the phone casually mentioned Camille's event. "Oh yes, she paid up front. Beautiful party, amazing energy." I hung up and stared at the wall for a long time. Then I printed the photos, the party receipts, the screenshots. I showed them to Jenna. She said nothing for a long time. Then she stood up and walked out of the room. Later that night, she sent Camille a message. "Jenna, we saw the photos, the party, please explain." Camille's reply came 10 minutes later. "I needed something positive in my life. I was drowning. I didn't think you'd understand." That was it. No apology, no explanation, no acknowledgement of the lie. What do you do when someone lies to your face? With a smile. What do you do when family manipulates your compassion and spends it on champagne? Jenna cried herself to sleep. I stayed up all night reading every message Camille ever sent. And by morning I knew one thing for sure. She wasn't getting away with this. Not without consequences. The morning after Camille's party went public, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a train. Jenna didn't say a word during breakfast. She picked at her cereal, eyes puffy and tired. Neither of us had really slept. I could see it in her posture, the way she hunched inward like she was trying to hide from everything. I said it first. "We need to confront her." She nodded almost imperceptibly. I didn't know what I expected. An apology. A refund. Maybe a weak explanation that could almost pass as believable. But deep down, I already knew Camille wouldn't own up. Still, we needed to try. So that afternoon, without warning, we drove to her apartment. She lived in a trendy loft building downtown, all glass balconies and overpriced parking. When we knocked, it took her a full minute to answer. She opened the door with a soft gasp. "Oh, wow. What a surprise." Camille was in full makeup, hair done, wearing an expensive-looking bathrobe like she was mid-spa day. No trace of illness, no oxygen tank, no hospital bracelet. Jenna pushed past her. "I'm not here for tea, Camille." Camille's lips parted just slightly, as if she couldn't decide whether to feign offense or confusion. "I just don't understand," Jenna continued. "You told us you were sick. You begged for help. And then you throw a luxury party like nothing happened." Camille crossed her arms. "It was my birthday." "You told us you had 6 months to live," I snapped. Camille sighed dramatically, as if we were the ones being unreasonable. "I never said 6 months. I said it was serious, and it is. But I needed joy. I needed something beautiful before everything gets worse." "Do you honestly think that's okay?" Jenna asked, voice shaking. "To lie. To take thousands of dollars from us and use it on string lights and champagne fountains?" Camille's eyes narrowed. The act was fading. "I didn't lie. Not really." "Not really," I asked. "I'm going through a hard time," she said. "Emotionally, mentally, you don't know what that's like. And that justifies scamming your family," I said. She scoffed. "You're being dramatic." That was it. I took out the folder I'd prepared. I handed it to her silently. Inside, screenshots of her party posts, the venue's price list, a copy of our money transfer, a copy of the messages she'd sent about her diagnosis, and a printed quote from the caterer's Instagram, thrilled to work on Camille's event last week. No expense spared. Her hand trembled as she flipped through it. "You've been spying on me?" she asked, stunned. "No," I said. "We just stopped believing you." Camille slammed the folder on the counter. "I said I needed help. You gave it. If you're gonna hold it over me forever, maybe don't offer it in the first place. Jenna stood up. Her voice was soft but firm. You used me, you used Marcus, you pretended to be dying. That's not asking for help, that's manipulating people who love you. Camille looked away, and for the first time I saw it. Shame. Or something close. But she didn't apologize. She didn't offer to pay us back. She didn't say a word. So we walked out. Back home, the silence was deafening. I made tea. Jenna stared out the window. I feel like I don't know her anymore, she said. Like the sister I grew up with is gone. I didn't have an answer. Camille had always been self-centered, dramatic, chaotic, sure. But this was different. This was strategic, deliberate. We didn't talk about pressing charges. Not yet. But the seed was there. The next few days were weird. Camille didn't call, didn't text, but we heard from others. Family members, mutual friends, coworkers. Hey, is everything okay with Camille? She said you guys are mad at her. She mentioned something about you overreacting to a misunderstanding. She posted this thing on Facebook about family turning on you in hard times. What's going on? It was infuriating. She was painting herself as the victim. Again. Except this time I had proof. I sat down and drafted a message. Not public, not petty, just facts. We sent it to close family in a private group message. Hi everyone. We want to clarify something important. A few weeks ago, Camille told us she was severely ill and needed help. We gave her a substantial amount of money to cover medical expenses. That turned out to be false. She used the money to throw a luxury party, which we confirmed through direct sources. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's manipulation. We're sharing this because she's been spreading misinformation. We love our family, but we won't tolerate being used. Some people were shocked, supportive, grateful we spoke up. Others, not so much. Jenna's mom messaged her. Camille says she was struggling, that she needed joy in dark times. Maybe try a little compassion. Compassion. I nearly lost it, but Jenna held it together. She replied I had compassion. That's why I gave her $6,000. A week later, Camille finally responded. A text. Short, passive-aggressive. I guess I know who my real family is now. Thanks for ruining my reputation. No mention of the lie, no mention of the money. That was the final straw. I contacted a lawyer. We gathered everything. Transfer records, messages, screenshots, the whole file. The lawyer looked it over and said something that surprised me. You might not get the money back, but you can make a statement. He explained that while it wasn't a criminal case unless we could prove she forged documents, it was grounds for civil action. Fraud, misrepresentation. We didn't want to ruin her life, but we weren't going to stay silent either. Jenna hesitated. She's still my sister. She knew that when she lied to you, I said. We sent Camille a formal letter. It demanded repayment, gave her 30 days. No response. So we filed. Not for revenge, for principle. For the simple truth that people, even family, can't take advantage of others without consequence. Filing the lawsuit didn't feel triumphant. It felt heavy. Like breathing underwater. Every movement slower, every word harder. But it was necessary. Camille's silence after the demand letter told us everything we needed to know. She didn't plan to pay us back. She didn't feel guilt. She didn't even feel the need to explain. So we let the paperwork speak for us. Our lawyer walked us through the process. The claim was straightforward: fraudulent misrepresentation, misuse of funds, and financial damages caused by deliberate deception. We weren't asking for emotional compensation, just the money. And maybe, just maybe, some accountability. Word got around fast. Not from us, of course. We hadn't posted anything publicly. But Camille had told her version to so many people by then, it was only a matter of time before someone leaked the truth. We started getting calls, messages. One from Jenna's cousin Ava. I don't want to pick sides, but Camille's been saying you're trying to destroy her. Another from Jenna's aunt. She told us you're suing her out of spite because she didn't include you in the party. That one made me laugh, bitterly. I hadn't cared about the party. I cared that we paid for it, thinking we were saving her life. Then came the Facebook post. Camille, ever the drama queen, shared a long, teary letter to her followers. She didn't name us, but it was obvious. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you the most. I've made mistakes, but suing your own sister because she needed help, that's not love, that's control. The post went viral, at least within her circle of influencer-adjacent friends. Hundreds of likes, dozens of "you don't deserve this" comments. She framed it like we were persecuting her for coping with her illness differently. That phrase made my stomach turn. Cope? She forged paperwork, lied to our faces, took our money, and used it for champagne and spotlights. This wasn't coping, it was calculated. But the most frustrating part, people believed her. Jenna tried to stay out of it. She didn't respond publicly, didn't argue in comments, didn't send messages. But I could tell it hurt. Seeing strangers call her cruel, watching family members comment vague hearts under Camille's post. One night she sat on the edge of our bed, scrolling through the comments with dead eyes. I used to admire her, she said. She always seemed so confident, like she didn't care what anyone thought. I didn't know what to say. So I just said the truth. She only looks confident when she's in control of the narrative. Then something unexpected happened. Someone messaged me. A woman named Raquel. I didn't recognize her name at first. Then she reminded me she had been at Camille's party, the one we'd seen on Instagram. I thought you should know, she wrote. Camille's been telling people she crowdfunded the money for her party from friends, but when I asked who donated, she got defensive. I didn't believe it, so I dug a little. Attached was a screenshot of a group chat. Camille had messaged a few mutual friends saying, "My sister and her husband think I'm dying. Just sent me $6K, total idiots. LOL." Reading that broke something in me. Not because of the insult, but because it confirmed what I had suspected since day one. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't mental illness. It was a scam, a cruel, well-rehearsed, heartless scam. I forwarded the screenshot to our lawyer. He immediately added it to the case file. Camille, however, was unraveling. Friends began pulling away, quietly at first. One canceled her photography booking. Another removed a tagged story. Some just stopped replying to her posts. She tried to keep up appearances, more curated content, more captions about healing and trusting the universe, but the sparkle was fading. Then came the court notice. She had 10 days to respond. Instead, she went silent. Radio silent. No new posts, no replies. Her account even went private for a while. It was the digital version of pulling the covers over your head and hoping the world goes away. It didn't. One of her former clients, someone Camille had photographed a few months ago, contacted us. Apparently, Camille had borrowed gear from her for a quick side gig and never returned it. When the client pressed her, Camille claimed it was lost during travel. But this client had seen the lawsuit post, seen the comments, and now she wasn't so sure it was lost. She told us everything. Turns out, Camille had a habit borrowing equipment, promising repayment, ghosting people. Another girl, same story, borrowed money for a fake deposit, never paid it back. It all started to fit together. Camille hadn't just lied to us. We were just the biggest mark so far. Jenna broke down one night. I don't understand how someone can fake something like that. A disease, our compassion. I did. Because Camille had never been punished. She'd always spun her drama into sympathy, her chaos into charm, her messes into everyone else's responsibility. Not this time. When the court date came, Camille didn't show. She filed a response the day before, claiming emotional distress, vague medical conditions, and accusing us of public defamation. Our lawyer was ready. He presented the messages, the bank transfers, the forged documents, the chat screenshot where she literally called us idiots. The judge didn't need long. A formal ruling, full repayment, court costs covered. She was given a structured payment schedule, but failure to comply would result in wage garnishment or seizure of assets. We won. But it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like closure. That night, Jenna and I sat in our tiny kitchen drinking cheap wine out of chipped glasses. We didn't toast, we didn't smile. We just breathed. It's over, she whispered. For now, I said, but if she tries again, anyone else, we have the truth on paper. Jenna nodded slowly. We did the right thing. Yes, we did. Even if it cost us more than money. It's been 6 months. Long enough for the dust to settle. Long enough to finally look at Camille's name without feeling a surge of rage, but not long enough to forget. Some wounds don't bleed. They bruise, quietly, deep. The court ruled in our favor, but as expected, Camille didn't start paying. Not even a single installment. The paperwork was clear. She owed us over $6,000 plus legal costs, but she vanished from the radar like a magician walking off stage mid-performance. Our lawyer followed through. He filed for wage garnishment. A background check revealed she'd taken a new job at a boutique marketing firm downtown. Stylish, trendy, the kind of place that probably loved Camille's curated social media persona. That didn't last long. A few weeks into the garnishment process, her employer received the order. And just like that, Camille resigned. Word is she claimed she was taking a sabbatical for mental clarity. I knew what that meant. She didn't want people in her professional life knowing the truth. She wanted to disappear again, reinvent, rewrite the narrative. But this time the internet had receipts. A cousin one who had initially defended her reached out, quietly, hesitantly. She told us you were exaggerating, that you'd twisted the story. But after seeing the screenshots, the bank records, I'm sorry, I didn't believe you. I do now. It didn't bring me joy. Not really. Just relief, like something heavy had been lifted off our shoulders. Jenna read the message and nodded silently. She'll keep doing this, she said. To someone else, unless people know. That was the moment we decided to make it public. Not out of spite, not revenge, but awareness. We posted a calm, factual account of everything on a community page, not naming her directly, but making it clear enough for anyone in her orbit to connect the dots. The response was mixed. Some people unfollowed her, quietly. No drama. Others defended her again, accusing us of kicking someone while they're down. We ignored those, because when people defend a lie long enough, it becomes part of their identity, and no one likes to admit they were fooled. Camille did try to reach out again. An email. Not an apology. A warning. If you keep dragging my name, I'll consider legal action. I'm not the villain you're making me out to be. We forwarded it to our lawyer, who replied with a 3-line response that ended in, "Your client is advised to cease all further contact." That was the last we heard from her directly. Time moved on. Slowly at first, then faster. Jenna started reconnecting with parts of her family. The ones who believed her. The ones who didn't try to gaslight her into being more understanding. She found her voice again. I could see it. In her posture, in the way she spoke, in the way she stopped apologizing for simply asking for truth. As for me, I learned more than I expected. Not just about Camille, but about people. About how easily we believe those we love. About how often we mistake manipulation for vulnerability. Camille wasn't evil. She was broken. But being broken doesn't give you the right to break others. Especially not the ones who would have done anything for you. One afternoon, months after everything ended, we got a small check in the mail. $83.17. The memo read, "Court-ordered wage garnishment distribution." Apparently, Camille had picked up freelance work under a registered platform and the state had intercepted a portion. It wasn't much, barely covered a dinner for two. But Jenna and I cashed it anyway. We framed the receipt, not out of spite, as a reminder that the truth, even if slow, always finds its way through. We've cut contact with Camille completely. No birthdays, no holidays, no backdoor "how are you" messages through mutuals. Jenna still grieves the relationship they had or thought they had. But grief is honest. Lies aren't. So here we are, still standing, still healing. We talk about it less now. But it's there, folded into the fabric of who we are. A lesson embroidered into our lives. Sometimes the people who cry the loudest are the ones causing the harm. Sometimes love makes you blind. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away and close the door behind you. A final thought for anyone listening. If someone close to you asks for help, give it with your whole heart. But if they lie, if they manipulate, twist, or steal from you under the disguise of need, don't carry their shame for them. Don't let guilt silence your anger. Because kindness should never be a weapon they use against you. You are allowed to protect your peace, even from family. Story 3, I need to tell this before I explode. They say blood is thicker than water, but what if the blood isn't even yours and the water still turns to poison? For almost a decade, I paid for a house I didn't live in, a house that wasn't even in my name, a house my parents promised would belong to both their kids one day, me and my stepbrother. Guess who ended up with it? Spoiler, not the one who made the payments. My name is Leo. I'm 33, and for the past 8 years, I've been carrying a weight that I didn't realize was shackled to my ankles. My parents, Ray and Marla, asked me to help them out financially when they retired early. No big ask, just pay the mortgage, cover the taxes, and keep the house maintained until they passed it down fairly. And I believed them, because I was raised to believe family meant trust. God, I was so naive. From the moment Owen came into our lives, everything changed. He was the son of my mom's second husband, and he had this polished, charming energy, the kind that makes teachers love you and parents beam with pride. I was the opposite, blunt, skeptical, a little too honest for family dinners. If he broke curfew, he was exploring his independence. If I missed a call, I was ungrateful. I stopped trying to make sense of it around the age of 16, but the scars stayed. When Mom and Ray retired, I didn't hesitate. I had a good job, a solid savings account, and no kids yet. It felt right to help them stay in the home we'd all lived in at some point. I imagined future holidays, barbecues, their grandkids running through the hallways. Now I wonder if I was funding my own betrayal. It all started to unravel when Owen moved back in for a few months. He'd been laid off again, third time in 5 years, and came back with a suitcase, a sob story, and no intention of leaving. I didn't even know he'd moved in until I showed up for my mom's birthday and saw his shoes by the door. "You didn't tell me he was living here again," I said. "Oh, honey," Mom smiled. "It's temporary." It wasn't. 3 months later, he was hosting football nights, moving in new furniture and calling the place his sanctuary. And my parents, they ate it up like gospel. "He's going through a lot," they'd whisper. "Be supportive." Supportive, I was supporting the whole damn house. Then came the letter. I was sorting through my bank documents when I found it, an official notice from the property office addressed to Owen Taylor. I stared at it for 5 whole minutes. Thought it was a mistake. It wasn't. The house had been legally transferred into his name, quietly. 2 years ago. 2 years. While I was still making payments. While I was still showing up every other weekend to patch roof leaks and clear snow off the driveway. They didn't even have the decency to tell me. I was just the wallet. The next day I drove to their house, heart pounding, hands shaking. Mom was making tea like nothing happened. Ray was on the porch watching birds. Owen was inside on their couch, feet up like he owned the place, which apparently he did. I didn't even sit down. "You gave him the house," I said. Mom paused mid-stir. "Leo, can we talk calmly? You gave him the house." Ray stood up, arms crossed. "We did what we felt was best for the family." "Best for the family?" I repeated, my voice hollow. "You mean best for him?" Owen stood up slowly, that smug grin already blooming. "You've always talked about selling it. That's not what Mom and Dad wanted." I turned to him. "You mean you convinced them I would?" "No," Mom cut in. "You're too focused on money, Leo. It's not healthy." My head spun. "You mean the money I gave you for this house?" Ray sighed like I was the one making a scene. "Owen's been here for them emotionally." I laughed so hard it hurt. "Emotionally, while I paid the bills." Owen stepped forward. "It's not personal, Leo. You were always gonna move on. I'm not." And that's when I saw it. He wasn't just confident. He was sure. Sure I wouldn't do anything. Sure I'd keep paying. Sure I'd stay quiet. He didn't know me at all. I stopped the payments that night. Mortgage, taxes, everything done. Let's see how emotionally supportive he feels when the roof leaks again and the bank calls about a missed installment. But that wasn't even the worst part. 2 days later, my aunt sent me a message. "Call me, it's important." I did. She told me Owen wasn't my stepbrother. Not legally, not by blood, not by adoption. They'd raised him because his mom vanished after marrying Ray. But he wasn't mine. Not even a half. Just a convenient kid who'd grown up playing Son of the Year. "And he's known all along," she added. "They told him. They never told you." I sat in my car breathless. He knew, they knew, and they still chose him. I was nothing but a transaction, an account they could drain, a name they could forget when the deed was signed. And you know what? They're going to remember me now. After that call with my aunt, I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I didn't even cry. I just sat there gripping the steering wheel in an empty parking lot, letting that one sentence repeat over and over in my head. "He's not your brother. He never was." For 30 years, I thought we shared something. Not blood maybe, but life, family, history. I thought we were two kids trying to survive the same storm. Turns out I was just the umbrella, and they were all dry while I drowned. That night, I pulled out everything I had, every bank transfer, every tax receipt, every email confirming I'd paid for that house. 8 years. Over $300, 000. I opened a new folder. Labeled it, "They played the wrong one." I didn't show up at their house again. I didn't scream, didn't threaten. No more family meetings, no more debates at the dinner table while Owen played innocent. Instead, I built my case in silence. I met with a lawyer the next morning. Her name was Vera. Sharp, ruthless, the kind of woman who didn't flinch when I said they transferred the deed without ever paying for the damn thing. She flipped through the documents, jaw tight. "Leo," she said, "this isn't a misunderstanding. This is fraud." That word hit hard. I hadn't just been betrayed, I'd been robbed. By my own mother, my stepdad, and a man who'd been lying to me since the day we met. "What are my options?" I asked. She smiled. It wasn't warm. It was surgical. "Oh, we're going to tear this apart," she said, "but first you're going to stop playing nice." 3 days later, they got the first notice in the mail. It wasn't even dramatic. Just a simple envelope, no return address. Inside, a letter from my attorney outlining an impending legal claim of unjust enrichment, financial fraud, and misrepresentation. It also stated that if the house wasn't sold and my investments returned within 30 days, we were taking it to court. I didn't even send a message with it, but I wish I could have seen their faces when they opened it. Instead, I got a phone call 2 hours later. It was Mom. No greeting, just silence. "Then Leo, how could you?" I didn't say anything. "You're going to destroy this family over money," she said, her voice trembling like I'd held her at gunpoint. I wanted to laugh. "You mean the money I spent to keep your house afloat while he played fantasy landlord?" "You don't understand," she snapped. "No," I said, "you don't." And I hung up. That's when the smear campaign started. Suddenly, I was the ungrateful child, the outsider, the one who always made everything about money. They told the neighbors I was suing out of spite, told extended family I'd lost my mind. Owen even posted a smug little update on Facebook, something about how family isn't always about blood, it's about loyalty. That part made me laugh. Loyalty, from the guy who couldn't even keep a job longer than a TikTok trend. I said nothing publicly, but I was watching. I had screenshots, messages, every receipt. They wanted to make me the villain. Fine, I'd wear the black cape. But this villain had lawyers and a plan. 2 weeks before the court date, I got another surprise. Not from my parents, from my father's accountant. He reached out anonymously through Vera. Apparently the man had been sitting on years of guilt. He'd seen everything: the fake will update, the forged property declaration, the retitling of the house before I ever agreed to help. He even had a copy of the original documents. My name had been there, and then poof, erased. Owen's name had been written in. Same house, same deed, same paperwork, different heir. And the worst part? Ray had forged my initials, signed over my rights as if I didn't exist. "You ready to scorch the earth?" Vera asked me. I nodded. "Good," she said, "because we're going in for blood." The court hearing was set for 2 weeks later. I didn't sleep much leading up to it, but I didn't feel scared either. I felt steady, like someone standing in the eye of a hurricane, calm but deadly. The night before the hearing, Owen sent me a text. "Don't do this, you'll regret it. You're just bitter." I stared at it for a long time, then deleted it without replying. The next morning I wore a plain black suit, no tie. I walked into the courtroom like a man with nothing to lose. They didn't look at me, not once. Ray sat stiffly in his chair. Mom fidgeted with her necklace. And Owen, he had that same smug look he always wore. Until Vera opened the folder. We laid it all out. The payments, the receipts, the forged signature, the fake will. Owen turned pale. My mom looked like she might faint. Ray went stone-cold silent. And me, I didn't flinch. When it was Owen's turn to speak, he tried the sympathy card. "I grew up in that house," he said, voice soft. "It's always been home." The judge didn't care. "You didn't pay for it," he said flatly. "You misrepresented ownership. That's theft." Ray tried to object, claimed it was a family misunderstanding. But then Vera pulled out the bombshell. The accountant's testimony, sworn affidavit, every document signed, dated, and damning. The room fell silent, except for the sound of the gavel. Judgment house to be sold. Proceeds divided. Leo to be reimbursed in full with interest. Owen looked like he was going to throw up. My mother didn't say a word. Not to me, not to anyone. And Ray, he just walked out. No apology, no explanation. Just gone. I stood outside the courthouse, breathing the cold air, and for the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. Not joy, not revenge, just clarity. I wasn't their son. I was their safety net, their fallback plan. Until I wasn't. They thought I wouldn't fight back. They thought I'd keep paying. They thought I'd disappear quietly. They were wrong. The house went on the market 3 weeks later. I didn't go back inside, didn't say goodbye. I just signed the papers, took the money, and bought myself a small condo by the coast. It's not flashy, it's not big, but it's mine. Every brick, every beam, every inch. Sometimes I still think about that house. How many memories I attached to it. How many holidays, birthdays, hand-me-down dreams were built inside those walls. But I also think about the lies, the silence, the betrayal. And I sleep just fine. The money hit my account on a Tuesday. There was no message, no call, not even a cold passive-aggressive, "We hope you're happy." Just numbers on a screen and silence. I stared at the total for a long time. $318, 412.17. 8 years of my life. My future returned in digital currency. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like a refund. You know what I bought first? A chair. One of those ridiculously overpriced armchairs with wide leather arms and a back that swallows you whole. I sat in it that night in my nearly empty condo surrounded by boxes and silence. And I cried. Not because I missed them. Not because I regretted anything. I cried because I had finally stopped fighting to be chosen. People love to ask if I ever forgave them. I don't. But I don't hate them either. Hate takes energy. And I was finally done spending mine on people who saw me as a transaction. Still, they tried to drag me back in. About 2 months after the sale, Mom emailed me. Subject, let's talk. No message body. Just those 2 words. I didn't respond. 2 weeks later, I got a longer one. She talked about how family should stick together and how she never wanted things to turn out like this. She said Owen was struggling. Struggling. The man who committed fraud lied to my face and called me bitter. Was struggling. She didn't ask how I was. Didn't ask where I lived. If I was okay. If I had anyone in my corner after they all closed ranks and shut me out. I didn't reply to that one either. Then came Ray. Out of nowhere, a voicemail. His voice cracked like he wasn't used to saying my name anymore. Leo, I know we've made mistakes. I'd like to meet, man to man. Man to man. I deleted it before he could finish the sentence. Because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Some parents don't love their children. They love the version of them that's useful. Once I stopped being useful, I stopped existing. And the version of me that had spent years trying to win their love, that version was finally dead. But grief's funny like that. It sneaks in sideways. You'll be fine for days, even weeks. Then you pass someone who looks like your mom in a grocery store and your chest tightens before your brain catches up. You'll see an old photo of you and your brother and part of you remembers laughing. Part of you forgets he was already plotting. Healing's not a straight line. It's a circle with landmines. I started therapy. Yeah, I know, very cliché, but it helped. Helped me name what I'd been swallowing since I was 10 years old. The feeling that I was always just too much for them. Too loud, too emotional, too honest. Too aware of the double standards. To me. Turns out, being the difficult child is just code for the one who noticed the dysfunction. One night in therapy, my counselor asked me something simple. Would you ever let someone do to your own child what they did to you? I didn't even let her finish. Absolutely not. Then why are you still trying to understand them? I didn't have an answer. Because I wasn't trying to understand them. I was trying to make them into people who deserved understanding. And they weren't. A few weeks later, I ran into someone unexpected, Lena. She was my childhood friend, lived 3 blocks away when we were kids. I hadn't seen her in over a decade. She was in the cafe I liked, ordering black coffee with oat milk and humming to a song I couldn't hear. She saw me, paused, smiled. Leo. And just like that, the years collapsed. We talked for hours. About everything and nothing. About parents who loved poorly and friends who showed up when blood didn't. Turned out she'd gone through her own family implosion. Different reasons, same emotional rubble. We met again, then again, and soon the quiet space I'd been trying to build didn't feel so empty anymore. In early spring, I got one last email. This time from Owen. He didn't bother with hello or hope you're well. Just jumped straight in. I'm not going to grovel. You wanted your money, you got it. Congrats. But Mom and Ray are falling apart, and you're fine with that. He was right. I was fine with it. He ended it with, you didn't just destroy the house, you destroyed the family. I almost replied, almost. But then I remembered something Lena said over coffee one night. You didn't destroy anything. You just stopped carrying a building they kept trying to burn down. So I archived the message, and I never heard from him again. You know what I've learned? That family doesn't mean forever. It means terms and conditions apply. And once those conditions are broken, when trust is weaponized, when love is a leash, when loyalty is one-sided, you get to walk away. You get to choose peace over proximity. I don't wish them harm, but I wish them honesty. The kind I was denied for years. The kind that forces them to sit in the ashes and ask, what did we do? I won't answer. Some questions they need to ask each other. As for me, I kept the armchair. I filled my new space with music, warm light books I never had time to read before. I stopped apologizing for setting boundaries. I said no without flinching. I said yes to people who never asked me to bleed for them. I didn't become cold. I just stopped lighting myself on fire to keep others warm. And when people ask, would you do it again? I tell them, yes, because now I know who I am. And that's worth more than any house. It's been a year. 12 months since I shut the door on a house I funded, a family I begged to belong to, and a lie that lasted way too long. Sometimes people ask me what it feels like now. To be free, to be done. And my answer, it feels like silence. Not the kind that's awkward or heavy, but the kind that lets you breathe again. My mornings are mine now. No calls about plumbing repairs, no guilt-laced voicemails asking why I haven't checked in on people who didn't check in on me. I read on the balcony. I take long walks without turning my phone over every 10 minutes expecting drama. I water plants I actually own. And I sleep. Like really sleep. The kind of sleep that comes when you no longer carry everyone else's expectations on your back. Because the thing no one tells you about walking away is this: you don't just lose people, you lose the version of yourself who believed you needed their love to survive. One afternoon, I got a text from my cousin Ava. We weren't close growing up, but she'd reached out after everything went public, said she admired me for standing up for myself, said she wished she'd done the same when her father used her college fund to bail out her brother's third DUI. This time her text was simple. Just saw Owen in town. He looked like hell. Told someone you ruined his life. I stared at it for a while, then typed back, I didn't ruin his life, I just stopped funding it. She replied with a single word: legend. A few weeks later, I got invited to a wedding. A mutual friend. I wasn't sure I'd go. Part of me still felt weird being in spaces where I might bump into people from my old life. But Lena encouraged me. You're not hiding, she said. You're healing. Big difference. So I went. And halfway through the night, in a sea of tiny white lights and too many wine glasses, someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned. It was an old friend of Owen's. One of the guys who used to call me uptight for working too much, for not letting things slide, for being too serious about family stuff. We hadn't spoken in years. But now he looked nervous. Hey, Leo, he started. I didn't know. About the house. About what really happened. I waited. He cleared his throat. You were right. About all of it. I nodded. Took you long enough. He laughed awkwardly. Yeah, I guess some of us needed to see the crash before we believed the fire. Some of you lit the match, I said quietly. He didn't deny it. Just nodded, then offered his hand. I hope you're doing okay. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't fake the answer. I am. Lena moved in 2 months ago. No drama, no tension, just boxes, books, and bad jokes about whose mugs get the top shelf. We have a shared rule now: no emotional janitor duties. We don't clean up other people's messes at our own expense. She gets it. Probably more than anyone else ever has. We've built a home that doesn't run on guilt, or secrets, or silent resentments tucked under throw pillows. Just two people who've learned how to stay standing without someone else's approval propping them up. Recently, I found an old photo. It was from years ago, Thanksgiving maybe. We were all around the table. I was sitting on the end like always. Owen had his arm around Mom's chair. Ray was mid-toast. I looked at my own face in that picture, smiling, polite, present, but not there. That version of me, the one who kept smiling while being erased, I grieved him too, because he tried, harder than anyone realized. And I'll never be mad at him for that, but I'll never be him again. If you're reading this, maybe you've been there. Maybe you're the one who's always been too much, too honest, too hard to love, too inconvenient to include. Maybe you've been the wallet, the emotional support human, the background character in your own story. So here's what I'll tell you. It's okay to walk away. It's okay to stop bleeding for people who hand you the knife every time. You don't owe anyone your silence, your savings, or your soul, not even if they share your DNA. Especially not then. I didn't burn the house down. I just left it empty long enough for the cracks to show. I didn't scream. I didn't rage. I didn't set out to win. I just stood up, gathered the proof, and walked out the front door they swore would always be open, then watched them panic when it slammed shut. And that was enough. Because I don't need revenge anymore. I have peace. And trust me, peace feels a hell of a lot better than approval ever did.